Hello and welcome to Ion South Asia. I'm Bhavna Vanan.
And I'm Sanjeev Pandya.
Every week we'll bring to you the latest news stories and headlines in the South Asian community. Sanjeev, we're going to start off with India this week for our top story.
India this week for our top story. Okay.
Yeah, we usually start off in Washington, but
Right.
I have some really good news for India.
Okay.
So, India has been rated the sixth most favorable nation for
Right.
Americans.
That's
We're
right.
apparently on the U.S.'s favorite list.
Hmm.
In this Gallup poll, they looked at Americans' view of 22 different countries, either favorable or unfavorable. And 68% of Americans viewed India as very favorable, while on the other hand, 81% did not view Pakistan as very favorable.
Now, favorable in terms of what? In terms of economy, in terms of visiting country, in
It's a
terms
little
of knowing
bit
culture?
it's a little bit vague,
Okay.
but it's more of an overall perception that Americans have. It's kind of like if you say the country India, you know, do you go on the spectrum of favorite or
Right.
not so much?
Okay.
And in general, India has a pretty good image when it comes to Americans. India is alongside several other countries like Canada, the UK, Germany, Japan, Israel, and France. These are kind of on the favored list of the US.
Not bad.
So we can call them allies, you would
Yes.
say. While Pakistan is kind of on the other side with countries like China, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine, Syria.
Well, actually, we're nowhere comparing India and Pakistan among favorable nations, you know, but it just a report indicates that Pakistan is not so favorable and India is at number 6. Now, we don't know whether India was at number 6 last time. Was it in top 10 or is this the first time that it's in the top 10? I don't know.
It seems like a fairly new poll that's
Right.
being conducted because they really just want to see, you know, Americans as in the public, how they're viewing these different countries,
Right.
as opposed to just the government and, you know, how they see the whole political situation. But, you know, if you notice, the unfavorable list is obviously U.S. has kind of a war type of relationship, or either they're currently in war or they've been in war with them over the past few years.
And the names of those countries, believe me, they're not surprising.
They're not surprising.
Syria,
right?
North Korea, Pakistan, and the other
Yeah.
countries, so they're not surprising. It's a good news. India voted as 6th most favorable nation for Americans.
Exactly. But you know, America is trying to work on its relationship with Pakistan, so that
Sure.
shouldn't be counted out of the equation.
That's right.
So, you know, like you said, it's not a surprise. There are a lot of budding success stories coming out of India and a lot of hope for the future of America, even regarding India. So, very favorable outlook.
All I like to say to Indians in India, keep up the good work.
Yep. All right, so speaking of hope for India and Indians, guess who's back in the news?
Wait a minute. It has to be one of the 2 Indian American governors we have in USA.
That's a good guess.
Very good.
Which one do you suppose is back in the news?
Now, I would say this time I'm going to go with Bobby Jindal.
You're absolutely right.
That's right.
Okay. So it seems like Obama and Bobby Jindal are getting a little bit chummy these days.
Yeah, I don't know how Bobby Jindal developed that funny bone within himself
Yeah.
at this annual dinner, you know, and I think there are a couple of dinners organized by certain organizations, right, during the year where politicians, including the president and the vice president of the United States, are allowed to poke fun at each other or the other members or the invited guests. And this time, I think Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal surprised none other than the President of USA, Barack Obama, and Barack Obama finally admitted that he is a funny guy. Bobby Jindal is a funny guy.
Right. Well, it was a rare moment,
Right.
and this was the Giridon dinner. It's a little bit like the Alfred E. Smith dinner where the candidates kind of roast each other, like you said.
Right.
And at this dinner, Obama, you know, made his speech, and Bobby Jindal, obviously, you know, he's used to attacking Obama all the time, but this time he decided to kind of poke fun at himself because, as we all remember, Bobby Jindal's speech back in 2009, he made a speech after Obama's first State of the Union address,
That's right.
and that was panned by critics. I
Sure.
mean, just on his delivery and things
Sure.
like that.
It was a blunder.
It was a blunder, and it was almost like it was funny, but it wasn't intended to be
Correct.
funny.
Correct.
But this time, Bobby Jindal really did have some pretty funny jokes. This was one joke that he actually did say, poking fun at that infamous speech. He said, after that speech, his dad called and said, "I told you to go to medical school."
That's right. That was a good one. Actually, my favorite one is this one. For our viewers of Ion South Asia, he said that this may surprise you, but I'm looking forward to President Obama's second term. It will be refreshing to hear President, not blaming other 4 years for his failure as a president.
Right.
So that was really good. And Obama really loved, I think, each and every single joke of that.
Yeah.
So.
And one other joke that he actually made himself and Obama kind of on the same plane. He said, "Come on, what chances a skinny guy with a dark complexion and a funny name have to get elected as president of the United States?"
True.
Obama can totally relate to that. So, he was laughing along. It was great fun. So Bobby Jindal, quite the comedian.
I wonder how he developed the funny bone, whether over the years he practiced or he found a good speech writer.
It could be because,
Or maybe watching a lot of comedy shows on TV.
maybe. But, these guys don't really write all of those jokes and those speeches. They have...
No, they have writers. Yeah, they have professional writers.
They have their own writers. So obviously, he got a lot better writer this
Sure,
time.
that's right.
So
Good going, Bobby Jindal.
Yeah. All right. So we have a very interesting meeting coming back to New York. The KPMG meeting with the U.S.-India Business Council, in collaboration with the Consul General of India,
Right.
they actually had this discussion about the Indian Union budget a couple of weeks ago at the Asia Society,
Right.
called India Perspective 2013.
Correct.
And, they're pretty much just talking about a lot of issues that are affecting India currently, things like the economy, economic surveys that they've done, how they're going to kind of figure out the budget and things like that, as well as issues like foreign direct investment, how they're going to bring in investments into the country and grow the economy, things like that.
The overall impression of the discussion and the participant was the budget was fair, responsive, and reasonable. And that was the comments, I think, made by known economists, other finance-related individuals, ex-political successful ministers also. They said that at this time's budget, which was presented by Finance Minister Chidambaram, right, and it was very well and a reasonable budget. So that was the overall general feeling at that interactive discussion.
Yeah, and in this discussion, the inaugural remarks were actually provided by Dr. Devyani Khobragade. She is the new Consul General of India.
Acting Consul General.
Yes.
She's the, okay.
Absolutely. So this seemed to be a very productive discussion, and they're really talking about a lot of the issues that we discuss on this show.
I think this may be the first time that they had organized this kind of interactive discussion. I don't think in the past it was, like this organized. So I think this was the first one.
Yeah, and they're bringing together a lot of leaders from the community and kind of bridging the gap with these issues.
Yep.
So that's great news for the Indian community.
Yep.
And speaking of great news, we do have more great news in the corporate world, in corporate America, and the tech world. So we're talking about Google. Google has recently appointed Sundar Pichai as chief of its Android division.
Right.
And he is going to be replacing Andy Rubin as the overseer of the Android software platform. And it's actually very interesting. Android has recently bumped iOS, Apple iOS,
That's right.
off the
Yes.
top spot now to become the world's most used mobile software, which
True.
is Android.
I mean, it happened so soon,
Yeah.
and people didn't even realize it. But I think with a somewhat not so successful iPhone 5 model, right?
Yeah.
And that's when Samsung, with their tablet, and then Android new model Galaxy, Galaxy 2 and Galaxy 3 started to capture market slowly by slowly.
Yeah.
And I must say their marketing was absolutely phenomenal, super
Yeah.
marketing. And now guess what? They are number one.
So now they've taken that number one spot and really amped it up even more, because Sundar is also the senior vice president of Google Chrome
Right.
and Google Apps. He's really touched a lot of the Google products and now Android. So here's what Google CEO Larry Page had to say. He said that Sundar actually has a talent for creating products that are not only great from a technical angle, but they're also very easy to use.
That's right.
And
He loves challenges.
of course, yeah. And one of the great examples of that is Gmail, as
Right.
well as Google Maps. You know, Google is absolutely the forefront when it comes to these
True.
software platforms. And so, yeah, great achievement
Great
there.
news.
And did I mention that Sundar is from Tamil Nadu?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he actually grew up in Tamil Nadu, and then he came to the U.S. He actually graduated from IIT Kharagpur, and he came here, got a master's in Stanford, and went to the Wharton Business School to get
Wow.
his MBA.
So this intelligent man from Tamil Nadu seems to be doing really, really well. I mean, he's capturing worldwide attention by becoming, head of Google's Android division.
Yeah, and I bet that we are going to be using, his creations from this point forward. I mean, it's very exciting to.
Okay, for you, everything except your phone, because you are iPhone user.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you Android?
BlackBerry.
Okay. All right. But I'm sure when it comes to the web, we'll definitely see his creation
absolutely,
going
yeah.
forward. All right. So now that we're in business, we still can't seem to get past the pattern of Indians involved in fraud. So this is some issues that we've been covering in the past episodes here. And in this case, we're talking about L&T, Larsen and Toubro. They are the Indian conglomerate that's been now barred by the World Bank from
Right.
doing business with several third parties, but in this case, it's Bretton Woods Institute. So the World Bank has actually barred L&T from doing business with them for 6 months because a senior executive from L&T was found engaging in fraud.
Right.
So now the World Bank won't be awarding any contracts for funding projects for this company.
And of course, Larsen and Toubro, known as L&T, they are denying these charges. They said there is no basis, there is no, a truth to these charges. But meantime, World Bank has barred, L&T, and that's a big news. That's a big news in the world of business. Seriously.
Exactly, and basically L&T said, they're distancing themselves from this executive and his activities.
Yes.
They really say that they had no idea that he was doing this. He was engaging in these activities without his manager's approval and all that kind of thing. But it seems that World Bank is not really buying that story. So, yeah.
Okay. And World Bank said that World Bank said that the record suggests that he acted out of he didn't act out of any motive. But whatever the reason was, World Bank, decided to keep a distance from L&T.
Yeah, and it seems that L&T has got into some trouble in the past year with
Right.
some other harassment cases and those sorts of things as well. So, it's kind of more of an image thing for them rather than, I would say, business.
Yep.
So, all right. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back on Ion South Asia.